about multiplication of matrices, basic. All right, when you're multiplying these together, you're going to basically take row 1 and multiply it and do some addition with this column 1 on your next matrix. So remember, this is row 1, row 2, column 1, column 2. It's the same here. Row 1, row 2, column 1, column 2. Okay, so row 1 of your first matrix with column 1 of your next matrix. And this is what we're going to do with them. We're going to take the first entries of each of those, the -5s, and multiply them together. Then we're going to add them to the second entries of each of these, so the 0 and the 4. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and combine those, and that gives us a -25 plus 0, excuse me, positive 25 plus 0, so that gives us 25 in that entry. Okay, now what we're going to do, our next step is to take, and we're going to do row 1 with column 2. Okay, we're going to take both of those first entries, the -5 and the -6, and multiply them together, and add that to the second entries multiplied together, so 0 times 6. Okay, and that is going to give us a positive 30 plus 0, so that adds to give us a positive 30. So that goes here in our matrices multiplied together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the second row. Don't want to, whoops. See if we can just move that down. So second row and first column. Now we're going to multiply these together in the same way. First entries multiplied together, so that's 4 times a -5. And we're going to add that to 3 times the 4. Okay, so that gives us a -20 plus 12, and that's going to give us a -8. Okay, so now we're continuing this process with row 2 and column 2. So we're going to multiply those together. And first entries together, 4 times a -6, plus the second entries, 3 times 6 together. So that gives us a -24 plus 18, and that gives me a -6. Okay, and that's our answer. So let's look at another example. Okay, so we're going to repeat this process. So row 1 with column 1. See how they have this, still have 2 entries on each, so we know we can multiply these together. Okay, so first entries, 6 times 3, multiply those together, add them to the second entries, and -7 times 2. Okay, I'm going to need to write a little smaller because I'm going to have a few more values there to do this time. So that's 18 plus a -14, so that's a 4. Okay, so now we're going to continue this process, row 1 with column 2. First entries multiplied together, so that's 6 times a -5 plus a -7 times a positive 7. Okay, so that's going to give me a -30 and a -49, and that's a -79. Okay, and now we're going to continue this row 1 with column 3. So that's going to give me 6 times a -4 plus a -7 times 5. And so that's going to give me a -24 and a -35, and that's going to give me a -59 there. Okay, so then let's continue the process now with row 2. We start over again with column 1, and 7 times 3. So the first entries, plus we multiply the second entries together, add them together. So that's going to be 21 plus 0 is just 21. Okay, now row 2, excuse me, with column 2, and that's going to be 7 times a -5 plus 0 times 7, and that's going to give me -35 plus 0, and that's going to give me -35 here. Okay, and now we're going to do row 2 with column 3 entries. So that's going to be 7 times a -4, the first entries, plus Multiply the second entries together, 0 times 5. So it's a negative 28 plus 0, it's just a negative 28. And that's our solution for this one. Okay, now let me show you, if I have something like this and I'm starting to look at my process and I say, okay, I've got 3 rows, I have my first row and times my first column. Well, they don't have the same number of entries, so I can't combine these. So this is an undefined case.